The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars, its metal walls stretched for miles in every direction. Inside the station's main hall, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for what many thought would be just another boring meeting. Kim Teho walked through the long corridors with steady steps. As Earth's main ambassador, he wore simple black suit that looked plain next to the colorful robes and strange armor of the alien delegates. Behind him walked Park Jae-woo, a military officer with sharp eyes who missed nothing. Lee So-min, a scientist who studied alien life, carried a data pad and looked nervous. The three humans entered the great council chamber. The room was huge, with seats arranged circles that rose toward the ceiling. Strange lights floated in the air, and the walls showed images of distant worlds, the smell of different alien atmospheres mixed together in an unpleasant way. At the center sat the council of three races. The collective speaker looked like a tall, thin person, but Teho knew it was actually controlled by millions of minds working together. The hegemony's war chief was a massive creature covered in thick armor and scars from many battles. The Ascended's representative appeared as a glowing ball of energy that hurt to look at directly. Humans, the collective speaker said in a voice that sounded like many people talking at once, you have been called here to discuss your future and our great alliance. Teho sat down in the chair marked for Earth's representative. The chair was too big for him, which he was sure was done on purpose. We're listening, he said in a calm voice. The hegemony's war chief leaned forward. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stones. Your people have grown too bold. You spread to too many worlds. You build too many ships. This cannot continue. The natural order must be maintained. The Ascended's voice echoed in everyone's mind without using sound. Young races must know their place. Lee So-min shifted in her seat. Teho could see she wanted to speak, but he raised his hand slightly to stop her. Park Jae-woo's face showed no emotion, but his hand rested near his weapon. The collective speaker stood up. We offer you a choice, humans. Accept tributary status. Give us control of your military forces. Limit your expansion to the worlds we approve. Do this and you may remain part of our great alliance. And if we refuse? Teho asked. The war chief's laugh sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. Then you face economic isolation. No trade with member worlds. No access to jump gate networks. No protection from pirates or invaders. You will learn to appreciate the order we provide, the Ascended added. Teho looked around the chamber. He saw representatives from dozens of worlds, all watching to see what Earth would do. Some looked hopeful, as if they wanted humans to refuse. Others seemed afraid of what might happen if the peace was broken. May I have a moment to consider this offer? Teho asked. The collective speaker nodded. 5 minutes. Teho turned to his companions. They leaned their heads together and spoke in whispers. The fleet is ready, Park Jae-woo said quietly. All research data has been copied and secured, Lee So-min added. Good, Teho replied. Then we proceed as planned. When the 5 minutes ended, Teho stood up. The chamber fell silent. Even the floating lights seemed to dim as everyone waited for his answer. The people of Earth have considered Your generous offer, Tiho began. His voice carried clearly through the large room. We have decided that we must respectfully decline. Gasps and strange alien sounds of surprise filled the chamber. The hegemony war chief hit his armrest. With a fist that could crush stone, you refuse, the collective speaker asked, sounding confused. We do more than refuse, Tiho continued. As of this moment, Earth formally withdraws from the Interstellar Dominion. We no longer recognize the authority of this council over human affairs. The war chief stood up, his massive form casting a shadow over the human delegation. You cannot leave. No world has ever left the Dominion. Today one does, Tiho said without fear. The Ascended's energy form pulsed with angry light. You make a grave mistake, young race. The galaxy is dangerous for those without protection. Tiho smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. You have confused our politeness for weakness. You mistake our cooperation for dependence. You assume our youth means we are helpless. He walked toward the chamber's exit with Park Jae-woo and Lee So-min following. At the doorway he turned back one last time. For 3 years we have tried to work within your system. We have followed your rules, paid your fees, and accepted your limits on our growth. We hoped that patience and goodwill would earn us respect and equal treatment. The chamber was completely silent now. Not even the translation devices made their usual humming sounds. Instead, you offer us slavery dressed up as partnership. You demand that we give up our freedom in exchange for your protection that we have never needed. Tiho's voice grew stronger. So we choose a different path. We choose to stand on our own. We choose to build our own future, free from masters who see us as children to be controlled. The collective speaker stepped forward. You will regret this decision. You will come crawling back within months begging to be readmitted. Perhaps, Tiho said, but we would rather face the unknown as free beings than live in comfort as your pets. He paused at the threshold. You wanted to know your place in the galaxy. Now you will learn what the galaxy looks like without us. With those words, the human delegation left the chamber. Behind them, the alien representatives began arguing loudly in dozens of different languages and communication methods. On his way to the docking bay, Tiho activated his communication device. This is Ambassador Kim. Execute Order 7. Across the galaxy, human colonies began shutting down their trade networks. Human ships started leaving Dominion. Space research stations went dark. The great experiment in galactic cooperation was ending, but something new was about to begin. As their shuttle left Nexus Prime, Lee So-min looked back at the massive station. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Tiho watched the station shrink in their view screen. We're doing the necessary thing. Sometimes that's the same as the right thing. Park Jae-woo checked his weapon one more time. The real test comes next. Yes, Tiho agreed. Now we find out what humanity can achieve when no one is holding us back. Captain Choi Hyun-sik stood on the bridge of the Earthship New Dawn and watched as hundreds of human vessels gathered in formation. Each ship carried families, equipment, and dreams away from worlds they had called home for years. The evacuation fleet stretched across space like a river of lights flowing toward the edge of known territory. Status report, Hyensik called to his crew. All civilian transports are loaded and ready, replied his first officer. Military escorts are in position. We're waiting for the final colony ships from the outer worlds. Hyensik nodded. 3 months had passed since Ambassador Kim's announcement on Nexus Prime. The aliens still believed this was all a bluff, that humans would return begging for mercy once they realized how hard life was outside the Dominion. They were wrong. Captain, the communications officer called out, Dr. Yoon Myre is requesting permission to come aboard. Send her up. Dr. Yoon Myre entered the bridge, carrying a large case. She was Earth's top scientist and had spent years working with alien technology. Her face looked tired but determined. Dr. Hyensik said, Are the research stations ready? Better than ready, Myre replied, setting down her case. Every piece of human research has been copied and removed, every patent filed with the Dominion database has been withdrawn. Every technological license has been cancelled. She opened her case and pulled out a small device that hummed with energy. More importantly, we've taken this. Hyensik leaned closer. What is it? The master key to the ancient jump gate network. The aliens never figured out how it worked. They just used what the previous civilization left behind. But we studied it, understood it, and made our own copy. The captain's eyes widened. The jump gates allowed instant travel between star systems. Without them, space travel took months or years instead of minutes. The aliens don't know we have this. Myre continued. They think their network is secure, but we can build our own gates now. Once they can't control or shut down. Across the fleet, similar conversations were happening on dozens of ships. Human engineers had quietly copied alien technology and improved it. Human doctors had developed new medicines that alien hospitals desperately needed. Human traders had built relationships with independent worlds that the Dominion ignored. On the colony ship Freedom, Commander Park Deho met with representatives from the human settlements. Each person carried reports from their home worlds. New Sol colony is completely evacuated, reported the woman from the mining world. We took all the equipment and collapsed the mine shafts behind us. The farming collective on Green Valley packed up their entire operation, said a man with dirt still under his fingernails. Soil samples, seed banks, even the bacterial cultures that made their crops grow so well. Park Deho made notes on his tablet. What about the orbital factories? Stripped clean, came the answer. Every machine, every computer, every manufacturing template. The aliens will find empty shells. The evacuation was more than just people leaving, it was knowledge walking away. It was trade agreements being canceled. It was technological partnerships dissolving overnight. On Nexus Prime, the Alien Council was beginning to understand the scope of their problem. The collective's queen mind tried to access human research databases and found them empty. The hegemony's war fleets discovered that their newest weapon systems needed human design parts that were no longer available. The Ascended's energy beings found that the power networks they relied on were failing without human maintenance. Admiral Seo Donghyun commanded the military withdrawal from his flagship, the Defiance. His job was to make sure no human Technology fell into alien hands, and that every human made it out safely. Admiral, his tactical officer, reported, "The alien fleet is requesting permission to inspect our ships before we leave." Dong Hyan smiled coldly. "Tell them that our ships are sovereign territory. They have no authority to board them. They're threatening to use force, sir. Let them try." The truth was that human military technology had advanced far beyond what the aliens knew. For years, human engineers had been quietly improving alien designs. Human tactical officers had studied alien weaknesses. Human commanders had developed new strategies that the rigid alien military minds couldn't understand. The alien fleet that tried to stop the human evacuation found this out the hard way. When they moved to intercept the Defiance, they discovered that human shields were stronger than expected and human weapons were more accurate than they remembered. The brief battle ended with 3 alien ships disabled and drifting in space. The humans had used non-lethal weapons, but the message was clear. They were leaving by choice, not because they were weak. Dr. Myrie worked in her laboratory as the fleet traveled toward the edge of Dominion space. Around her, teams of scientists cataloged everything they had learned during their time with the aliens, the collective's hive mind technology. She dictated to her assistant, based on quantum entanglement principles, we've improved their design by 30%. The hegemony's armor plating, another scientist added, we've developed a lighter, stronger version using human metallurgy techniques. The Ascended's energy manipulation called out a third researcher. We've created portable versions of their power systems. Each improvement represented years of quiet work. The aliens had shared their technology expecting to maintain control over its use. Instead, humans had learned from it and made it better. Captain Hyan-sik received reports from across the galaxy as human settlements completed their evacuation. Trade routes that had operated for decades suddenly stopped working. Communication networks went silent. Medical supplies became scarce. On the water world of Azure, the fish farms that fed billions of aliens across 3 systems shut down. The secret was in the breeding techniques that human scientists had developed. Without them, the fish died and the farms failed. On the crystal moon of Harmony, the mining operation that provided rare materials for alien computers closed permanently. Human geologists had been the only ones who understood how to safely extract the crystals without destroying them. On the garden world of Paradise, the atmospheric processors that kept the air breathable for 17 different alien species stopped working. Human engineers had designed the complex systems that balanced the chemical needs of all those different life forms. They're starting to panic, Hyan-sik's communications officer reported. Alien governments are offering huge rewards for any human who stays behind. Any takers? The captain asked. Not one, sir. Every human citizen has chosen to leave. As the last human ships reached the edge of Dominion space, Admiral Dong Hyan sent a final message to the alien Council. You wanted to control us because you thought we were weak. You tried to limit us because you feared we were strong. Now you will learn what the galaxy looks like without our help. We hope you learn from this experience. We will not be returning. The human fleet crossed into uncharted Space leaving behind a galactic civilization that was just beginning to understand what it had lost. Behind them, the lights of Dominion worlds flickered as systems failed in trade. Networks collapsed. Ahead lay the unknown, full of dangers and possibilities. But for the first time in years, humanity was truly free to choose its own path among the stars. 3 months after the human exodus, the galaxy was a different place. On the trading world of Merchant's Rest, alien vendors closed their shops early because the goods they needed simply weren't available anymore. The human trading companies that had kept the economy running were gone, and no one else knew how to fill the gap. The Void Syndicate noticed the weakness. First, these pirates and criminals had always stayed away from Dominion space because human patrol fleets made their lives difficult. But now, with human ships gone and alien forces stretched thin, opportunity called to them like blood in the water. Warlord Vex commanded the largest pirate fleet in known space. His ships were built for raiding, not fair fights, but they were fast and numerous. When his scouts reported that former human territories were barely defended, he saw a chance for easy profit. Send the word to all fleet commanders. Vex growled to his lieutenants, "We hit 12 systems at once. Take everything that isn't nailed down and take the nails." 2. The Void Syndicate struck like a swarm of hungry insects. They attacked trade convoys, raided mining stations, and captured alien civilians to sell as slaves. The Dominion's response was slow and uncoordinated. Their commanders had relied on human tactical advice for so long that they had forgotten how to fight effectively on their own. On the frontier world of New Hope, a human refugee camp received a distress call from an alien transport ship. The vessel carried families fleeing the pirate attacks, their home world burning. Behind them, General Lim Chanwu read the message and felt his anger growing. He commanded a small human task force that was supposed to protect the refugee convoy. But these aliens weren't his responsibility. His orders were to guard human civilians, not get involved in Dominion problems. But the message included children's voices begging for help. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "our orders are clear. We're not supposed to engage in combat with non-human targets unless they threaten our people." Chan Wu looked at the tactical display. 15 pirate ships were chasing the alien transport. The transport had families aboard, parents and children who just wanted to escape the violence. Sometimes orders need to be interpreted creatively, he said. That transport ship is dangerously close to our convoy route. The pirates chasing it could be a threat to our people. His aide smiled, very creative. "Interpretation, sir. Scramble all fighters, bring the fleet to battle stations." The human task force dropped out of faster than light traveled directly between the pirates and their prey. The Void Syndicate ships found themselves facing modern human warships with shields they couldn't penetrate and weapons they couldn't dodge. The battle lasted exactly 11 minutes. When it was over, 15 pirate ships were nothing but space debris, and the alien transport was safe. Videos of the fight spread across the galaxy within hours, showing human fighters moving like dancers through space while their enemies exploded around them. "This is General Lim Chanwu of the Human Expeditionary Force," the general Broadcast on all frequencies. The Void Syndicate attacked innocent civilians in our area of operations. This will not be tolerated. Any pirate vessel that enters human-protected space will be destroyed without warning. The message reached every corner of the galaxy. Humans weren't just running away, they were showing that they could still fight when they chose to. On Nexus Prime, the Alien Council met in emergency session. The great chamber that had once intimidated human ambassadors now felt empty and cold. Trade reports covered the tables, showing the same story: economic collapse spreading like a disease. The outer colonies are requesting military protection, the collectives speaker reported. Their defense contracts were all handled by human companies. The hegemony's war chief slammed his fist on the table. We are warriors, we can protect them ourselves. With what ships? The Ascended's representative asked coldly. Half our fleet cannot operate without human-built components. The other half lacks the tactical software that human programmers provided. The numbers were getting worse every day. Medical supplies were running low because human biochemists had developed most of the drugs that alien hospitals used. Food shipments were delayed because human agricultural experts had designed the farming systems that fed billions of alien citizens. Even simple things like water purification were failing because human engineers had built the recycling systems that most space stations relied on. Ambassador Young Haiwan stood in the meeting hall of the independent world called Haven. Around her sat representatives from dozens of minor species that the Dominion had barely acknowledged. These were the small colonies, the forgotten worlds, the species that were too weak to matter. In galactic politics, the Dominion promised you protection, Haiwan said to the assembled delegates. Where were their fleets when the pirates attacked your shipping? Where was their aid when your colonies needed medical supplies? Representative from the insect-like Viren species clicked her mandibles nervously. The great powers have always ignored us. Why should we trust humans to be different? Because we're offering partnership, not domination, Haiwan replied. We want trade agreements that benefit both sides. We want mutual defense pacts where everyone contributes according to their abilities. We want to build something new. She activated a holographic display showing a star map. The Dominion controls the galaxy center, but most of the galaxy is out here on the edges. Billions of people living on thousands of worlds that the major powers don't care about. The Viren delegate leaned forward. What are you proposing? A new alliance not based on who's strongest or oldest, but on who's willing to work together. We call it the Galactic Cooperative. Across the room, other delegates began talking excitedly in their various languages. For the first time in generations, someone was offering them a chance to be partners instead of subjects. Dr. Nam Sujin worked in her laboratory on the human research ship Discovery. She had spent years studying the collective's hive mind technology, becoming one of the few humans who could communicate directly with their group consciousness. Her communication panel chimed with an incoming message. The signal pattern was familiar. It was the collective trying to contact her. The message was simple: please respond. We need to talk. Sujin stared at the screen for a long Time, she had friends among the collective, individual minds within the group that she had worked with for years. It would be easy to answer, to reopen the communication channels that humanity had closed. Instead, she deleted the message and turned back to her work. The collective tried again the next day, and the day after that. Each message was more desperate than the last. Their technology was failing without human input. Their understanding of quantum mechanics was incomplete without human research. Their entire scientific foundation was built on collaboration with human minds. And now those minds were gone. But the humans didn't respond. The communication channels remained silent. On the trading world of commerce, alien merchants gathered in worried groups to discuss the crisis. The galactic credit, the common currency that had unified trade for centuries, was losing value as confidence in the Dominion's stability weakened. The humans always said their departure would cause economic disruption. One merchant complained. They weren't lying. Maybe we should have listened to them. Another replied, maybe we should have treated them as equals instead of subjects. It's too late for that now. They're gone and they're not coming back. But even as they spoke, reports were reaching commerce about the galactic cooperative that humans were building. Independent worlds were joining this new alliance and finding that trade was actually easier, not harder. The cooperative used a simple currency based on actual goods and services rather than political control. Some of the merchants began to wonder if they were supporting the wrong side. General Chan Wu received his next orders while his fleet was protecting a convoy of refugee ships from 3 different species. His new mission was to establish a military base in the uncharted region beyond Dominion space. Sir, his aide asked, why are we building a base so far from human territory? Chan Wu looked at the star chart showing the vast empty regions that the Dominion had never bothered to explore, because that's where we're going to build our future. And because out there no one can tell us we don't belong. The base would be called Freedom Station, and it would become the first military outpost of humanity's new empire. Not an empire built on conquest, but one built on the simple idea that free people could accomplish anything if they worked together. The galaxy was changing, and the aliens who had tried to control humanity were finally beginning to understand what they had unleashed. Captain Oh Kyung-ho checked his ship's navigation systems one more time before giving the order to jump. The Explorer was humanity's most advanced scout vessel, equipped with technology that the aliens had never seen. Today, it would carry the first human expedition beyond the galactic rim into space that no one had ever mapped. All systems ready. Captain reported his navigation. Officer Lieutenant Kim Min-jae, jump. Gates are charged and standing by, added Engineer Park Sung-woo from the engine room. Kyung-ho looked at the star chart on his main screen. For thousands of years, every civilization in the galaxy had assumed that the rim was the edge of everything important. Beyond lay empty space, worthless worlds, and nothing worth the effort of exploration. The humans had decided to find out if that was true. Execute jump, Kyung-ho commanded. Space twisted around the Explorer as it leaped across impossible distances in the blink of an eye. When the ship emerged from faster-than-light travel, Kyung-ho's crew found themselves surrounded by stars that no civilized being had ever cataloged. Long-range sensors are picking up something unusual, Minjai reported, excitement growing in her voice. Captain, you need to see this. The main screen showed what appeared to be a structure floating in the void between stars. It was enormous, larger than most space stations, but clearly artificial. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, and it gave off energy readings that didn't match any known technology. Take us closer, Kyung-ho ordered, but keep the shields up and weapons ready. As the explorer approached the structure, more details became visible. The thing was ancient, its metal surface worn by cosmic radiation and meteor impacts, but it was still active, still generating power after who knew how many thousands of years. I'm reading multiple structures throughout this system, Minjai announced. Captain, there are dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Kyung-ho felt his heart racing. Humanity had stumbled upon the ruins of a civilization that predated everything in known space. The implications were staggering. Contact the fleet, he ordered. Tell them to send the science ships. We found something that's going to change everything. 3 weeks later, Engineer Bay Young-hee stood inside the largest of the ancient structures, surrounded by technology that seemed like magic. Her team had managed to activate some of the alien systems, and what they found was beyond anything they had imagined. The power source alone is incredible, she reported to Dr. Yun Mirei over the communication link. It's been running for at least 10,000 years without maintenance. The efficiency is perfect, no energy loss at all. Mirei's voice crackled through the ancient communication system they had repaired. What about the computer systems? Still working on those. The data storage technology is unlike anything we've seen. Each memory crystal can hold more information than our largest databases. Young-hee walked through corridors that had been empty since before humanity learned to make fire. The walls were covered with symbols and diagrams that her translation software couldn't interpret, but the mathematical concepts were universal. Young-hee called out her assistant, Dr. Lee. Junho, you need to see this. She followed him to a chamber filled with floating holographic displays. The images showed star maps, but not of any region that current civilizations knew about. These maps covered the entire galaxy and beyond, marking the locations of jump gates, resource deposits, and inhabited worlds. This isn't just a space station. Young-hee realized, it's a command center. The precursors controlled the entire galaxy from here. Meanwhile, archaeologist Shin Woo-jin worked with a team of specialists to piece together the history of the mysterious builders. They had found art, writing, and historical records that painted a picture of a civilization far more advanced than anything currently existing. They called themselves the architects. Woo-jin explained to the research team. They built the original jump gate network that the Dominion still uses. They terraformed worlds, created artificial stars, and maintained peace across the galaxy for millions of years. What happened to them? Asked his colleague, Dr. Park Hyejin. Woo-jin pointed to a series of murals on the chamber wall. They left. The images show them departing the galaxy in massive ships, heading for distant star clusters, but before they left, they built all of this as a gift for whoever came after them. The murals told a story that was both wonderful and terrible. The architects had grown beyond the need for physical form, evolving into something like pure energy. But they knew that younger races would eventually fill the galaxy, and they wanted to leave behind tools that could help those races avoid the mistakes of the past. "Look at this section," Hyojin said, pointing to a mural that showed different alien species working together on massive construction projects. They predicted that the galaxy would be populated by many different kinds of life. And this part, Wu Jin added, indicating another image, shows what happened when those species fight instead of cooperate. The mural depicted worlds burning, star systems dying, and entire civilizations destroying themselves in endless wars. It was a warning written in stone and light left by beings who had seen the cycle repeat countless times. Back in Dominion space, the alien council was struggling with problems they didn't know how to solve. The hegemony's war fleets were suffering equipment failures that their engineers couldn't fix. The collective's hive mind network was developing glitches that made communication difficult. The Ascended's energy beings were finding that their power sources were less efficient than before. All of these problems had the same cause. They had been depending on human innovation and expertise far more than they realized. The outer colonies are demanding protection we cannot provide, the collective speaker reported during another emergency session. 3 more systems have declared independence this week. Our military strength is a joke, the hegemony's war chief admitted bitterly. Half our weapon systems require human-designed components that we cannot manufacture ourselves. The Ascendant's representative pulsed with frustrated energy. We have grown dependent on their creativity. Our own technological development has stagnated. None of them wanted to admit the truth that humanity had been carrying the Dominion for years, solving problems and creating innovations that kept their civilization running. Admiral Quan Minho received reports from the frontier as he supervised construction of humanity's first major base in the new territories. Freedom Station was growing larger every day, built using both human engineering and precursor technology. The mining operations are exceeding all projections, his chief engineer reported. The asteroid belt in this system contains rare elements that don't exist anywhere in Dominion space. What about the shipyards? Online and producing our first vessels with integrated precursor systems. The new ships are faster, stronger, and more efficient than anything we've built before. Minho nodded as he watched human workers and robots constructing facilities that would have taken the Dominion years to build. But humans weren't working alone. They had been joined by engineers and scientists from the growing galactic cooperative. The Viren insect people contributed their expertise in crystal technology. The marsh dwellers shared their knowledge of underwater construction techniques. The nomad fleets provided information about navigation in uncharted space. Each species brought something valuable to the partnership, and unlike the Dominion's rigid hierarchy, the cooperative encouraged innovation and shared knowledge freely. Dr. Myrie established her main laboratory in the heart of the largest precursor facility, surrounded by technology that was millions of years old, but still more advanced than anything the current galaxy could produce. She began the work of understanding how it all functioned. The precursors built their technology to be intuitive, she explained to her research team. They wanted other species to be able to use it and improve upon it. How do we know that? Asked one of her assistants. Myri pointed to a control panel that had automatically adjusted itself when humans first touched it, because it adapts to whoever uses it. Watch this. She placed her hand on the panel and symbols appeared that were clearly designed for human understanding. When her Viren colleague touched the same panel, the symbols changed to match Viren mathematics and logic patterns. It's not just a tool, Myri realized. It's a teacher. The precursors built this to help younger races learn and grow. As word of humanity's discovery spread through the cooperative, more species asked to join the alliance. They came not as subjects seeking protection, but as partners eager to contribute to something greater than themselves. Captain Kyonho received new orders to push deeper into unexplored space. His mission was to map the precursor network and locate other abandoned facilities that might contain useful technology. How far out are we authorized to go? His navigation officer asked. Kyonho looked at the star charts that showed vast regions marked only as unknown. For the first time in human history, there were no artificial boundaries limiting their expansion, no alien authorities telling them where they could and couldn't go. As far as our ships can take us, he answered, the galaxy is bigger than anyone imagined, and now we're free to explore all of it. The explorer jumped toward distant stars, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams into the infinite darkness. Behind them, Freedom Station grew larger and stronger. 1 year after humanity's departure from the Dominion, the galaxy received visitors from beyond the stars. They came not as explorers or traders, but as conquerors. The Devourer fleet emerged from the dark spaces between galaxies, bringing with them technology designed for one purpose, consuming entire civilizations. The first attack hit the Dominion's outer colonies without warning. Massive ships that looked like mechanical insects swarmed over 3 star systems, stripping them of all life and resources in a matter of hours. The alien vessels moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single vast intelligence. On Nexus Prime, emergency alarms filled the great council chamber as reports flooded in from across Dominion space. The collective speaker's voice trembled as it read the casualty reports. 70 billion dead in the first wave. The Kepler system is gone completely, not just the planets, but the star itself has been drained of energy. The hegemony's war chief stood at attention, but his scarred face showed fear. For the first time in decades, our fleets are moving to intercept, but the enemy ships are unlike anything we've ever faced. Our weapons barely scratch their hulls. The Ascendant's representative pulsed with urgent energy. These beings possess technology that surpasses even our own. They are not from this galaxy. For 3 days, the Dominions combined fleets fought desperately against the invaders. Ancient battle strategies that had worked for thousands of years proved useless against an enemy that thought in ways no one understood. Ships that had seemed mighty were destroyed like toys. Worlds that had stood for millennia were consumed like Next, the Devourer fleet moved steadily toward the galactic core, leaving empty space behind them. Nothing survived their passage, not planets, not asteroids, not even the cosmic dust between stars. In the cooperative territories beyond the rim, humanity watched the invasion with growing alarm. The precursor facilities had detected the enemy fleet long before they reached Dominion space, giving Admiral Quan Minho time to prepare his defenses. The invaders have been traveling between galaxies for millions of years, Dr. Yun Myrie reported from her research station. They consume everything they encounter and use the energy to power their journey to the next galaxy. Can we stop them? Minho asked. Maybe. The precursor archives contain records of the last time this happened. The architects fought these same invaders 65 million years ago. Colonel I.M. Yihayek studied the tactical data with growing understanding. The Devourer fleet was powerful, but they fought like machines. Predictable, logical, efficient. They had never faced the kind of creative chaos that human military minds could produce. They've been traveling in straight lines, he observed, always taking the most direct route to their targets. They don't expect resistance that thinks outside the box. On the fourth day of the invasion, a battered Dominion cruiser limped into cooperative space carrying an unexpected passenger. Ambassador Ryu Sung-min met the ship at Freedom Station and was surprised to find the collective's former speaker waiting in the airlock. The alien looked nothing like the confident representative who had once demanded humanity's submission. Its synthetic body was damaged and its connection to the hive mind was weak and unstable. Please, it said in a broken voice, my people are dying. The collective is being consumed. We need help. Sung-min led the alien to a meeting room where other cooperative leaders were waiting. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The beings who had tried to make humanity into subjects were now begging for aid. What exactly are you asking for? Sung-min inquired calmly. Military assistance, technological support. Anything you can provide. The alien's voice was desperate. We know. We have no right to ask. We know we treated you badly, but billions of innocent beings are going to die if someone doesn't stop the invaders. Sung-min looked around the table at his colleagues. Dr. Myrie nodded slightly. General Chanwoo's expression was unreadable. Captain Kyung-ho leaned back in his chair, considering. The Dominion offers what in return? Sung-min asked. The alien representative was quiet for a long moment. We have nothing left to offer. Our fleets are broken. Our economy has collapsed. Our technology is inferior to yours now. Then why should we help you? Because it's the right thing to do. The words hung in the air like a challenge. For years, the Dominion had told humanity that might made right, that the strong ruled the weak. Now they were asking for help based on moral principles they had never shown before. Sung-min made his decision. We'll help, not because of any debt or treaty, but because innocent people shouldn't die for their leaders' mistakes. The combined human and alien fleet that assembled at Freedom Station was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships built with precursor technology flew alongside Dominion vessels that had been hastily repaired. Cooperative Member species contributed their unique abilities to the effort. Colonel Yihaya commanded the joint forces from the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Deng Haiyan's old flagship. The ship had been upgraded with weapons that combined human creativity, precursor knowledge, and alien engineering. Enemy fleet detected, his tactical officer reported 200 Devourer ships approaching the Centauri system. Show me their formation, Yihayuk ordered. The main screen displayed the enemy fleet moving in perfect geometric patterns. Each ship was exactly where mathematics said it should be for maximum efficiency. It was beautiful, terrifying, and completely predictable. They're fighting like a computer program, Yihayuk observed. Time to show them what chaos looks like. The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for generations. Human fighters darted through the enemy formation like angry wasps, attacking from angles that the Devourer fleet hadn't calculated. Cooperative ships used tactics that no logical mind would consider, turning retreats into ambushes and defeats into victories. The Devourer ships were individually superior to anything the galaxy could field, but they couldn't adapt to the unpredictable nature of organic creativity. When human pilots did things that didn't make sense, the alien artificial intelligence couldn't respond effectively. Target their command ship, Yihayuk ordered. If we can disrupt their coordination, the whole fleet will be vulnerable. The Defiance led a suicidal charge directly at the largest Devourer vessel. Human ships absorbed punishment that should have destroyed them, their precursor-enhanced shields holding against weapons that had consumed star systems. At the last moment, the human fleet scattered in all directions, leaving the command ship exposed to fire from cooperative vessels that had been hiding in the shadows. The massive alien ship designed to devour worlds cracked apart under concentrated bombardment from a dozen different species working together. With their command structure damaged, the Devourer fleet began to make mistakes. Ships collided with each other, weapons fired at empty space. The perfect coordination that had made them unstoppable all dissolved into confusion. All units pressed the attack. Yihayuk commanded, don't give them time to reorganize. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it was over, the Devourer fleet was destroyed. Their ships scattered across space as glowing debris. The galaxy was safe, and everyone knew who had saved it. Dr. Myrie studied the wreckage of the enemy ships, learning everything she could about their technology. What she found was both fascinating and terrifying. Their artificial beings, she reported to the Leadership Council, created by a civilization that destroyed itself millions of years ago. The Devourers were meant to preserve their creators' knowledge by consuming other galaxies and adding their information to the collective memory. So they're not evil, Sung Min said, just following their programming. Exactly, and now that we understand how they work, we can reprogram them to be explorers instead of destroyers. The solution was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of fighting every Devourer fleet that emerged from deep space, the galaxy civilizations could offer them something better than destruction: partnership in exploring the universe and preserving knowledge through cooperation rather than consumption. As news of the victory spread, the political landscape of the galaxy shifted once again. The Dominion's old hierarchy had completely collapsed, leaving individual worlds to choose their own futures. Most chose to join the galactic cooperative, attracted by its promise of equality and mutual support. Ambassador Sung Min met once more with representatives from the former Dominion powers. The Great Council chamber on Nexus Prime was mostly empty now, a symbol of failed leadership and broken dreams. The cooperative is willing to accept your worlds as member states, he told the assembled aliens, but not as the dominant powers you once were. You'll be equal partners with everyone else. The collective's new speaker, less arrogant than its predecessor, nodded. Agreement, we understand. Our old ways led to disaster, perhaps. It's time to try something new. The hegemony's war chief, his armor now bearing the scars of battle against the devourers, spoke with newfound humility. Our strength was never as great as we believed. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. The Ascended's representative pulsed. With subdued energy, we have learned that wisdom comes not from age, but from the willingness to admit error. Sung Min looked around the chamber that had once intimidated human